and welcome to another episode of This Is Metal. Tonight, Joe, we're going to be talking about Def Leppard, and people might be kind of surprised here. Def Leppard, well, it's because Def Leppard is celebrating 40 years like a lot of bands, and this year it's celebrating 40 years of their album High and Dry, which is the second album. And the reason we're talking about it too today is there's a little bit of a controversy. Is Def Leppard a metal band, or are they a pop band? Hard rock band. We're going to be getting into all that, because if you go back to the very first two Def Leppard albums, they're much more of a metal band, and they, with Pyromania and Hysteria, they were really turned into a pop band. So I know you're not much of a fan of Def Leppard, so let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, this is kind of a unique episode in the fact that generally, the shows that we do, we pretty much agree on.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a different spin on everything, which is going to be interesting because it's not that I don't think they're talented. First, let me state that.
Okay.
Obviously, these guys are very talented, very good vocalists, very good songwriting arrangements. They were hugely successful. So I got to give credit where credit's due. That being said, it doesn't mean that I'm going to like them.
Yeah, it's not your cup of tea.
Everybody's going to like them.
Of course. Yeah.
And that's just one of the cases with Def Leppard. Like you had said, the first couple of records that they put out, I thought showed promise. Especially with Vivian Campbell, on guitar. They sounded great. They had promise. And I think where they lost traction in my book is when they hired Mutt Lange.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people say.
To work on the chart-breaking albums that they're well known for. They kind of cut the balls off of Def Leppard. They watered down the guitar sound. They made everything kind of bubblegum-ish sounding. Yeah. A little bit too much pop. They took away any metal credentials whatsoever that Def Leppard had. Were completely gone. They're a pop rock band, in my opinion, and that's not a bad thing. If you like pop rock, it's a great thing.
They definitely.
But I don't, and that's kind of where I sit with it. Again, I respect them for the individual talent that they possess as musicians and singers, songwriters as well. But I'm kind of along the lines of, I'm going to quote Ronnie James Dio. When Vivian Campbell left Dio and joined Def Leppard, and he was asked about it, he made a comment that Def Leppard, that's a great band to have diarrhea with.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That's what Ronnie Dio thought of Def Leppard, at least at the time. That is what Ronnie Dio thought of Def Leppard. And it may have been, a situation where he was just bitter and angry about Vivian quitting the band. I'm sure he was. But it's one of those things. It's just a personal opinion.
Of course.
Again, I'll state that I realize that those guys are very talented and hugely successful. Just not my cup of tea, man. That's all. They're far from a metal band, in my opinion.
Yeah. And now I think, like I said, if you go back to those first two albums, they're much more of an edge to what they were doing, much more metal. There's always somewhat of a pop element, but like I said, I think once they got to Pyromania and they bring in Mutt Lange, he really slicks up the sound. But there's a lot of reason for that, too, because if you go back to the first two albums, Def Leppard, if you know anything about the band's history, which I do, they started out in 1978, and many of them, this is before they even have a record deal. They were from Sheffield, England, and actually Def Leppard, that's the one thing you can say about them. They put Sheffield, England on the map, because before Def Leppard, nobody ever, all the bands were coming out of London or even Birmingham, England. Nobody ever heard of Sheffield. And the thing is, very early on, people were saying that they were kind of they were considered a new wave of British heavy metal. And if you listen to those first two albums, I think like a lot of bands when they're first starting out, they're hungry. They have there's something to be said about making your very first album. You have your whole life to write those songs. When you get the chance to kind of go in and record the studio for the very first time, I think you could relate to that, Joe.
Yeah, that's true. One thing that I thought was kind of metal about Def Leppard is in 1979, they pretty much were kind of known for, or getting a reputation for the new wave of British heavy metal.
Yeah.
The growing popularity landed them a record deal with on a major label, Phonogram, Vertigo, Mercury Records in the U.S. And Def Leppard's original management, MSB, got into a local duo consisting of Pete Martin and Frank Stewart Brown.
Wow.
They were fired after Martin and Joe Elliott got into a fist fight over an incident on the road that happened. And then the band later approached somebody else, and they got involved in different management and so on and so on. But that's about the most metal thing that I've heard about Def Leppard in a while.
Yeah, in fact, like I said, they were they got started when they were teenagers. I know Joe Elliott was a real visionary in the sense that before the story he tells is before there's ever a band named Def Leppard, he said that's always when I was a teenager. I always dreamt if I ever have a band, that's going to be the band's name, and he even came up with the kind of unique spelling of that, with the two P's. So he always kind of had that vision for this was his kind of dream band, and then he meets the other guys, and he is the ultimate one of the ultimate kind of frontmen. As far as if you talk about those 80s rock bands, he's one of the best frontmen out there. He knows how to get the crowd going, and I think that's he's a big part of why Def Leppard is as successful as they are.
No, for sure. But the shocking thing to me is Mutt Lange worked with AC/DC.
Yeah.
So I would think, if I could go back in time, and if you were to tell me that AC/DC's producer Mutt Lange is going to work with Def Leppard, I would think, oh, that's probably going to be a really good record.
You would think,
I would never have the vision or the idea of what he turned Def Leppard into.
Yeah, I kind of think.
So that to me that was really shocking.
Yeah, on one hand, you can't argue with Mutt Lange's success, but on the other hand, okay, this is also a guy after his success with Def Leppard, he would go on to marry country superstar Shania Twain, and then she's a country superstar, and he starts he marries her for a couple of years before they get divorced, and then he starts. All of a sudden he's producing country music,
Right.
And so,
yeah, there you go.
So I think he's one of those guys that whatever pays the bills, he will he will do. And the other thing with Def Leppard, you go back to some of those early records. I mean, I don't know if you've heard any of these songs, but for example, one song I really dug off the first album was "Hello America," and that's the song about these 5 kids from England. Not only having the dream to grow up and become huge rock stars, but they had that dream of coming to America for the very first time and bringing their music, and that's what that song and that album was all about. And if you listen to any that song or anything off the first album, really is almost full blown on metal, and that's part of it. Like I said, they were so hungry, they were young, and that was a big part of their success, wanting to come over here to America for the very first time. Could you imagine, Joe?
Oh yeah, that had to be an amazing dream come true. I mean, you couldn't put it into words. I'm sure it was larger than life for them to have lived.
And then
the life that they have lived.
And then they come over here, and at that time they're just opening for other bands. But they were opening for bands I think like AC/DC, Sammy Hagar, and then it was only like 2 or 3 years after the first album that they'd be headlining. But yeah, I mean they kind of shot up really quickly.
Yeah.
And then
I didn't know this. Def Leppard actually auditioned Adrian's
Maiden.
They did what?
They auditioned in 90 between. There's a period between 91 and 92 when they were looking for another guitarist. They auditioned Adrian Smith and John Sykes and Gary Hoey.
Oh, that's right around the time I think when Vivian came in.
Vivian Campbell came in
because their original player
chose Vivian Campbell, but that's who Vivian was up against.
Yeah, and
in the auditions.
Yeah, in fact, John Sykes was really hotly rumored before they made their announcement that he was going to be it, and I'm kind of surprised they didn't go with him, only because Vivian Campbell, he's an Irishman, not an Englishman, so that's the first time they had kind of a guy that wasn't from their homeland, so that was kind of an interesting choice they made.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely, I see why.
Yeah.
Vivian's a great guitar player.
And plus,
I love what he's doing in was it the Last in Line or something like that?
Yeah,
What's
yeah.
the other band? What's
Yeah,
the
Last
band
in Line.
band?
Yeah, Last in Line.
Last in Line. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good band that they got together with Vivian.
yeah,
For sure.
yeah. And here's the thing with that. You know, for many years, you know, maybe what Vivian says is true. You know, you get wiser with you know, the older you get in that. But there were many years where he wanted nothing to do with his days in Dio. He didn't want to talk. He wouldn't. He'd do interviews. He wouldn't want to talk about it. People would ask him about the records he did with Ronnie, and he'd be like, you know what? That's my past. I'm about going on in the future. I don't talk about those records. And now he says in retrospect, he says a lot of that was because I was bitter over the fact that, you know, I was fired from a band. And me and Ronnie says, like, in retrospect, we both said things we shouldn't have said, but I was angry and bitter for a long time. Well, I'm not angry and bitter anymore. And then I guess eventually, you know, a few years ago, he starts to decide, you know what? Maybe I should start, go back and trying to play some of these Dio tunes that I was a part of. And initially, when they put the band together, the Last in Line, it was to just kind of him and Vinny and Jimmy Bain, the original bass player, to get together and kind of go out and cover that part of the Dio era that they were part of. And then they said, you know, why don't we make this into a real band and start kind of writing some original tunes. And now they're working on their third CD that's supposed to come out in the new year.
Wow, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm much more of a fan of that
Type of music.
that direction, that type of music for sure. You know, that's the Vivian Campbell that I like. But again, like I said, Def Leppard has huge success, and they're very talented. And the drummer that everybody knows, and you know, Rick Allen right
The
now.
one-armed drummer. Yeah.
Yeah, he was not the original drummer. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Tony Kenning was the original drummer.
Yeah.
From 77 to 78 before Rick Allen.
Now, of course, that's
also,
before they ever.
Of course, Steve Clark on guitar.
Yeah.
Before, you know, till 91 till he
Yeah.
died, you know, and that's when Vivian came in after that. But Pete Willis also on guitar in 77 to 82.
Yeah.
So Phil Collin and Vivian Campbell, neither one are original members.
In fact, I don't think Phil Collin even plays a lick on Pyromania. That's around the time that he joined up with the band, but the album had already been recorded, I think, with Pete Willis. But he, very much like Steve Clark, I guess he was much more of a worse alcoholic at the time. That's why he was thrown out of the band. And he hasn't done much since, but... you know, just think about that. So the two original guitar players pretty much get kicked out of the band because they both were, you know, major alcoholics. Phil Collin, though, comes in around that time, and he went on to tour and has been with the band ever since. But a lot of people, you know, because they don't bother reading the album credits or they might not pay attention to stuff like that, think it's Phil Collin playing all over Pyromania. His first album with the band wasn't until 1987's Hysteria.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, have you heard of the supergroup Kings of Chaos?
Kings of Chaos.
Glenn Hughes, Duff McKagan, Sebastian Bach, Matt Sorum, Gilby Clark, Steve Stevens, and Joe Elliott.
Oh, yes.
Formed a supergroup called Kings of Chaos.
Yeah, they get together from time to time.
They did a bunch of Deep Purple tunes and consist of members of Deep Purple, Def Leppard, Guns N' Roses, and all these different bands together. They got together and formed this band, Kings of Chaos.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine? You know, at this point in Joe Elliott's career, I mean, not only do you have Def Leppard, but to be a kid from England and your one of your influences is Deep Purple, and you get to you know hit the stage with the legendary Glenn Hughes, who. I mean, that's got to be wild. Kind of, you know, you grow up listening to this band, and you're playing with one of the guys that played in the band.
Yeah, that would be pretty surreal, man, for sure.
Yeah. And you know that's I think a thing that people got to realize about Def Leppard. Part of the reason they've got such great staying power is they do. If they're a metal band or not, they do have the tunes. I mean, for the most part. Great one band that is really great and talented when it comes to songwriting. And what I love about Def Leppard is, unlike a lot of bands, pretty much everybody in the band contributes to the songwriting, not just the singer, not just the guitar players, everybody.
Yeah, that's the way that it should be. I mean, that's awesome if you can get all members of a band to be on the same page and work together. That's pretty rare, actually. But usually the songwriting is done by two people. Usually in most bands, usually the majority of the songwriting is done with two people. But, you know, that's an awesome experience if you can get a whole band to actually work together and truly contribute and write together. That's a rare thing, actually.
And I think that's the. I mean, I think that's the reason that they've had such staying power as far as, you know, not having a whole bunch of lineup changes, because, you know, when you have a band like that, everybody probably really feels as they get to you know, contribute. I mean, even on Vivian's very first album he did with the band, which was Slang, had kind of a different sound, but there's this song on there. I don't know if you've ever heard it. It's called Work It Out. It actually features, it was one of the singles off that album. It features Vivian on lead vocals.
Oh, wow. That would be cool to hear. Yeah, for sure.
And it's kind of a different kind of sound, but it's a pretty cool sound, and I kind of dug it. I realized, like, you know, in Def Leppard, you know, you're not going to take over as a lead singer, but I thought, you know, why doesn't he do a solo record or something like that?
Yeah, for sure.
Because he's got a pretty cool sounding kind of track, and the other thing is, you know, they really have a brotherhood among the guys in Def Leppard. I mean, so much to a point. You mentioned Rick Allen. I've heard Joe Ellie tell the story over years that, you know, we were really kind of cowards. We weren't going to tell the guy that, you know, he was fired or that he was in the band. We were going to kind of let him make that decision, because he's our brother. We kind of, you know, we wanted to stand by him. And you know, Rick Allen, talk about tenacity. I mean, I've heard him tell the story that, you know, he was laying in the hospital after his accident, and, you know, they come and tell him that he's lost his arm, and then he starts kind of tapping on the end of his bed with his foot, and he kind of gets thinking, hey, maybe I can do something electronically, you know, with the drums, and this all. And then the other band members, he tells us too, while he's still in the hospital, they're like, you know, the boy is sick, or, you know, it's the medication. But I mean, just think about that. You know, you lose your arm, and most people think as a drummer, guy's never going to play drums again. But because of his accident and everything, I mean, there are probably other one-armed drummers, you know, that are able to do what he does. You know, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there definitely
wasn't anyone of any prominent band name that came out
before that. Yeah,
a one-armed drummer. I mean, Def Leppard was unique in that way. Again, you know, for sure. And, you know, and I think, you know, to credit their success, I think that their simplicity, catchy harmonic sing-along songs, whether you like it or not, is a major staple in why they've been so successful. And they're able to repeat that and to keep, you know, mass producing it, so to speak.
Now, even being a working musician yourself, Joe, I'm sure a lot of times when, you know, you're giving a concert or something and you're getting ready to go up on stage, I mean, I'm willing to bet half a dozen times you've in the venue they're playing Def Leppard tunes, and even though you're not a huge Def Leppard fan, like, do you ever get sick and tired of hearing some of these songs on the radio, even driving in the car? Like, I mean, Pour Some Sugar on Me.
Yeah, the radio just kills. You know, sometimes they take a song and they just ruin it. You know,
like Pour Some Sugar on Me. I mean, you get in your head and you're like,
how many times can you hear that over and over again? You know, and there's a lot of songs that they've done that with. You know, Paranoid from Black Sabbath, and you know, just on and on. There's a list of them. You know, and they were great songs and hugely talented bands that came up with these songs, you know, so give them that due credit and due respect. But these program directors at these radio stations, you know, they're bought and paid for.
Yeah.
And that's how that works, in case anybody didn't know it. It's not people that actually call in and say they want to hear Paranoid for the 189 millionth time. You know, that's not actually happening. It's program directors who are paid to play a certain amount of songs from this band or that band or this act or that act. It's bought and paid for. Well, that's how that works, sadly.
Well, unless you're a band like Def Leppard, you know, especially around the time of Hysteria, and your videos are constantly playing all day on MTV. I mean, that's how it was done back in the day. The record companies would kind of really, they would bribe the hell. They would bribe.
Because back then there was a profit to be made.
Yeah.
People were buying albums. people would go to concerts, people would buy T-shirts and merch and stuff like that. So there was a massive amount of money to be made.
And
for them, it was just a simple decision of making an investment. You know, that's the way that they looked at it. You know, we'll put $100,000 into this band, but we're going to make $2 million. You know.
Yeah, and everything has a cycle. You know, for example, I mean, you know, like Def Leppard, even Motley Crue. I mean, when they were having #1 video of the week every week, you know, they were in constant rotation on MTV and radio and stuff. But you know, like anything else, you know, when their time is over, like Motley Crue and Def Leppard, they never totally went away, but like there was a point in the '90s where they stopped being played on MTV, they stopped being played on the radio, and they started, grunge took over. Now we're only going to play grunge bands, you know, and they even fell victim to that. I mean, like even the first album they did with Vivian after he joined, it has they're trying to kind of rediscover who they were. Okay, well, everybody wants grunge. We're going to make a grunge album. We're going to sound alternative. And some of the fans liked it. Some fans kind of thought, oh, now you're trying to, you know, change who you are. So even bands like Def Leppard kind of were dealing with that for a while, you know.
Yeah. I mean, the struggle was real through the '90s for a lot of those bands, the hair metal bands. They took a hard hit. You know, they were on top of the world, and record labels were shoveling money out, truckloads of money out to them, and then it just stopped.
Yeah, and you know, getting back to the original guitar player, Steve Clark, like you were mentioning, right before Vivian Campbell joined, Steve Clark died in 1991. He's been dead like 30 years now. He died at the young age of 30. So a lot of people will say, okay, they'll point to those first 4 Def Leppard albums that he's on because that's kind of a classic sound. And those are albums that pretty much all the hits are on. Now, here's the one thing I do admire about Def Leppard is, unlike a lot of bands that said, okay, you know, nobody's buying CDs anymore, we're just going to quit making music, they continue to put out new music, and it's kind of a little bit of everything. It's you got some of the stuff that sounds like classic Def Leppard, some stuff maybe has more of a modern sound, but I give it to them for continuing to put out new music.
Oh, absolutely. They could have easily rested on their
catalog of music, like a lot of
catalog. You know, no problem. If they wanted to do that, they could have successfully probably done that for many years. I
mean, even Poison, who I'm sure you're not much of a Poison fan, but that's what they've been doing for years. I mean, supposedly Ricky Rocket says they're working on a new album. We'll see, but I bring it up because Poison's one of those bands too that they don't even have to go out and tour like all year, like when, you know, like bands had to do years ago. They can just go out for a summer every summer, and they don't even have to put a new album out. They just do the greatest hits tour every year, and people will go and buy tickets, you know?
Oh, absolutely, for sure.
Yeah, and you know, another band that's kind of you know, able to do that, not to the level, say, as Def Leppard or Poison, is Skid Row, because Skid Row, again, people love the catalog they have with Sebastian Bach, and they even though he's not in the band anymore, the band continues to go out, and the bulk of the stuff in the set list is the Sebastian Bach stuff, because that's what people want to hear, if they like it or not, you know.
Oh yeah. They're kind of stuck in those shoes to some degree, you know, and you know, and that's not to say that they can't have success again into the future.
Yeah.
But it you know, it was a very unique time, you know, in the 80s and 90s, and you know, even into the 2000s or some. I don't see music at all being the same, you know, and that's kind of a sad thing, but you know, who knows what the future holds and how that'll take shape for a lot of those bands. But I'm glad that a lot of them are still going, Skid Row being one of them. Huge Skid Row fan, love that band, actually, so that's a good thing. And Def Leppard were supposed to go on a tour, I think, with Motley Crue, Poison, and Joan Jett.
Supposedly,
it was originally scheduled for 2020, and then it got pushed back to 2021, and then 2022, and then it's going to be 2023. And I'm going to predict that because they're going to keep this COVID thing going as long as they can, and people are fucking stupid, and they'll believe all the bullshit that the regular news media keeps pumping into their little pea brains.
Yeah.
So it'll just keep going on and on and on and on and on. We're on like year 3 of this bullshit.
Well,
so,
I'll tell you,
it's not going away. So if they're waiting for COVID to go away to go on this tour, that tour is never going to happen.
Yeah. I'll tell you something funny about that, Joe. Now in Indiana, where you live, do you have to go out still wearing a mask everywhere you go?
I don't wear a mask anywhere.
Yeah, see, here's a funny story. Here where I live in, Los Angeles area, okay, anywhere you go in LA County, they still make you wear a mask. Now, I work in Orange County, which is like right on the other side, and you can go anywhere within Orange County lines, and it's pretty much just LA County out here. And then they're trying to make these new rules. Well, until people, they want to make new rules, so maybe we can stop wearing masks, but we can't do that until there's, can't have any more than 50 people with COVID a day. So they're making it real hard, So it's like, why is it just in this one part, like this one state, California, and but you go on the other side of town and you're able to go anywhere without a mask. It's just stupid rules. And I agree with you. Out here, we're trying to get you can't even go to a concert unless you can prove you've been vaccinated. I mean, it's crazy crap. And
eventually, it's just going to be we're all either slaves to the elite and how they want to run things, which is the way it's headed, sadly. Or people are going to stand up and say, we've had enough, fuck you, we're not doing it, and violently take over.
I think it's
one or the other is going to happen. You look at countries like Venezuela and all these other different countries that have been through what we're going through already.
Oh, yeah.
And you see the massive riots. You see them fighting in the streets.
Definitely.
You see all of this shit going down.
Yeah.
Well, how much longer is it going to take before that happens in America?
Yeah, the other thing that
gets... How much more bullshit are we going to be spoon-fed?
Yeah, and talking about the music industry and everything, like we've been doing it, one thing is a lot of these bands, a lot of our heroes, they're getting older, they're retiring. Some of them are dying, unfortunately.
They're not going to make it out of this. A lot of them, and a lot of them haven't. And that's a great point that you make, and it's sad because there's so much talent out there, and some of it I don't think is even going to be close to being replaced.
Yeah, and here's the sad thing about some of our so-called heroes, like Nikki Sixx is one. Okay, I mean, he never has to work another day in his life. He continues putting these books out and CDs and stuff. And it's not going to matter to him if Motley Crue ever goes out on the stadium tour or not. But I've heard him making statements in the press. He's another one of these guys that likes to virtue signal, like, well, we were going to go out, but we didn't want to put our fans at risk of catching COVID at any of our shows. We want to be a responsible band. I mean,
what? The guy with needles sticking out of his arm from heroin overdose.
On stage.
And more of an alcoholic than probably any rock star on the planet is all of a sudden concerned about his fans. That's fucking hilarious. That's fucking brilliant.
Yeah. And like I said, I mean, if they ever hit the road again, it doesn't really matter to Nicky. He's comfortable.
Oh, no. Yeah.
But
he could just fart on a record and sell it. I mean, you don't have to do anything anymore.
I mean, some of these guys that used to be like the anti-establishment, it really pains me to see what they become. I mean, Dee Snider's another one who I heard recently talking about.
Isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, not only does he shame people for not wearing masks, but he was making some statement about how Alice Cooper is his hero, but he was really disappointed to find out that he doesn't approve of Alice playing golf because playing golf is not metal. I'm like, dude, who are you to judge Alice Cooper?
Right. Yeah, that's cute too. Whatever.
Yeah. Like, who cares what you think? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. Disgusting. But nonetheless, Def Leppard continues on into the future, and we're talented, successful guys. But on this one, we just don't see 100% in agreement, and that's okay.
Yeah. That's okay.
That's the beauty. That's the beauty of this too, And
if you don't have to like everything, we don't have to like everything.
And vice versa. Yeah, exactly. But again, like I said before, that they're absolutely, undeniably talented musicians and songwriters, for sure. But it's just not my thing. It's overproduced. It's too bubblegumish. It's too pop rockish for me, you know. That's just my
opinion. Yeah.
That's just the metal side of me, you know. I would just rather listen to Dio or Deep Purple or Judas Priest or anything, just about, you know, rather than that.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. Well, Joe, anything else that you'd like to let the folks listening to this know about before you wrap it up for tonight?
No, not really. That was about it. I'm looking forward to our next show.
40 years of Anthrax.
That's going to be on Anthrax, you mentioned, right?
Yeah, 40 years of Anthrax. And so we're going to get all into Anthrax.
There's going to be a lot to talk about there. You know, Anthrax has kind of had their fingers in the pie of everything. You know, those guys have been around a long time. Done a lot. There'll be a lot of fun stuff to talk about.
In fact, I love next week. I can't wait to hear what you have to think about when they, kind of put their head into the rap world for a few seconds.
Yeah. I wasn't a big fan of that, but we'll save that conversation for next week for sure.
Okay, Joe. Well, I can hear you getting tired, so go get some rest, my friend, and we'll catch up with you next week.
Okay, sounds good. Take care, brother.
Okay, bye-bye.
Chaotic Riffs Magazine.